Rule 5, Dart 17 hours, Eastern Persian Gulf, 47 nautical miles southeast of Bandar Abbas. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group maintained standard patrol formation beneath a cloudless dawn sky. Surface search radars swept their assigned sectors in routine cycles. The carrier's air wing prepared for morning flight operations. Then the southern horizon erupted with electromagnetic signatures. The Combat Information Center aboard the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Bulkley detected them first. 60 distinct radar contacts materialized simultaneously at bearing 185 degrees, range 38 nautical miles, altitude 2,000 feet, speed 110 knots. The tactical action officer recognized the profile immediately. Shahed-136 loitering munitions, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps naval aviation's weapon of choice for saturation attacks. The threat board lit crimson. This was not a probe. This was a coordinated mass strike designed to overwhelm defensive systems through sheer numeric superiority. The scale was unprecedented. Previous Iranian harassment operations had involved 3, perhaps 5 unmanned aerial vehicles. 60 represented an escalation of magnitude, a deliberate test of American air defense doctrine under conditions approaching peer adversary saturation thresholds. The stakes crystallized instantly. The Abraham Lincoln carried 5,000 personnel, 60 aircraft, and represented $13 billion of naval architecture. The cruiser USS Philippine Sea and destroyers Bulkley and Gridley formed the outer defensive ring. 4 Arleigh Burke-class hulls, 368 vertical launch cells, 9 Phalanx close-in weapon systems, and 2 MH-60R Seahawk helicopters airborne on anti-surface patrol. The battle space was set. The timer began. At 05:19 hours, Strike Group Commander issued weapons-free authorization across all platforms. The Philippine Sea achieved firing solution first. 12 RIM-162 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles erupted from forward vertical launch cells, white plumes arcing south toward the approaching swarm. Engagement range, 31 nautical miles. Time to intercept, 94 seconds. Simultaneously, the carrier launched 4 FA-18E Super Hornets on emergency scramble, each aircraft carrying full air-to-air loadouts. 4 AM-120D AMRAAM missiles, 2 AM-9X Sidewinders. The jets climbed through 8,000 feet in vertical ascent profiles, afterburners painting contrails against the pale morning sky. At 05:21 hours, the first intercepts registered. 8 Shaheeds disintegrated in fireballs visible from the carrier's flight deck. The Sea Sparrows performed flawlessly, their active radar homing systems locking individual targets within the dense formation, but 52 UAVs continued inbound, now at 24 nautical miles, descending to 800 feet in sea-skimming profiles designed to complicate radar tracking. The Bulkley pivoted to unmask AFD-VLS cells. 16 RIM-66 standard missiles launched in ripple fire, 2-second intervals between each departure. The destroyer's SPY-1D radar tracked every airframe simultaneously, prioritizing closest threats for immediate engagement. At 05:23 hours, the Super Hornets achieved weapons range. Lead Flight Commander selected combat spread formation, 2 aircraft establishing high cover at 12,000 feet, 2 remaining at 6,000 feet for middle layer intercepts. AMRAAM launches commenced. The Beyond Visual Range missiles accelerated past Mach 4. Active seekers acquiring targets at 18 nautical miles. 4 impacts, 6 impacts, 9 impacts. The radar picture began thinning, but the mathematics remained brutal. 43 UAVs still advanced. Engagement range collapsed to 11 nautical miles. Time to carrier defensive envelope, 6 minutes. At 05:25 hours, the MH-60R Seahawks repositioned to intercept vectors. Each helicopter carried GAU 21.50 caliber machine guns and AGM-114 Hellfire missiles. The rotary wing aircraft lacked the speed to pursue fleeing targets, but excelled at ambush tactics against slow UAVs. The lead Seahawk achieved firing position at 8 nautical miles from the swarm's western flank. Hellfire away. The laser-guided missile covered the distance in 11 seconds. Impact. A Shahed tumbled into the Gulf trailing black smoke. The second helicopter engaged with sustained machine gun bursts, tracers intersecting a UAV's flight path at 4,000 yards. The drone exploded mid-air, its warhead detonating prematurely. At 05:27 hours, the engagement entered terminal phase. 37 Shaheeds remained, now at 7 nautical miles, penetrating the strike group's medium-range defensive layer. The Gridley fired the final salvo of standard missiles, 8 weapons targeting the densest cluster formations. Simultaneously, all 4 destroyers activated their AN/SEL-Q-32 electronic warfare systems, broadcasting high-power jamming across Iranian command frequencies. 14 UAVs lost navigational coherence, spiraling into the sea without detonating, but 23 maintained course. Kamikaze protocols engaged. The drones accelerated to maximum speed, diving toward the carrier from multiple axes simultaneously. At 05:28 hours, close-in weapon systems achieved firing solutions. The Abraham Lincoln's 3 Phalanx CIWS mounts rotated toward incoming threats, 20mm Gatling cannons spooling to 4,500 rounds per minute. The radar-guided systems required no human input, engaging autonomously based on threat priority algorithms. The forward mount opened fire first. A continuous stream of depleted uranium penetrators created a wall of metal 200 yards ahead of the carrier's bow. 3 UAVs disintegrated instantly, shredded by hypervelocity impacts. The portside mount engaged 2 drones approaching from 280 degrees. Both targets destroyed at 900 yards. The starboard mount tracked a low-altitude threat skimming 40 feet above wavetops. Kill registered at 600 yards. The sky erupted. 17 simultaneous intercepts. Phalanx systems aboard the escorting destroyers added their firepower, creating interlocking fields of fire across the strike group's inner defensive zone. The auditory assault was overwhelming. The shriek of Gatling cannons, the thunder of missile launches, the rolling concussions of aerial detonations. Debris rained across the Gulf surface, flaming wreckage impacting water at hypersonic velocities. The carrier's automated defensive systems tracked every fragment larger than baseball-sized, calculating impact probabilities in microseconds. At 05:29 hours, 3 UAVs penetrated the final defensive layer. Range to carrier, 400 yards. The Philippine Sea's forward Phalanx mount engaged the lead drone, direct hit at 340 yards, but the UAV's momentum carried burning fragments toward the Lincoln's port quarter. The debris impacted ocean surface 80 yards from the hull. No damage. The second UAV targeted the Bulkley directly. The destroyer's aft Phalanx system achieved kill at 290 yards. The explosion occurred close enough that shrapnel peppered the ship's superstructure, causing minor cosmetic damage, but no casualties. The third drone, trailing the others by 15 seconds, approached the Gridley from astern. The destroyer's final Phalanx mount rotated to maximum depression angle. The system fired 187 rounds in 2.4 seconds. The UAV exploded 220 yards from the ship, its warhead detonating in an orange fireball that briefly silhouetted the destroyer against the dawn. 11 minutes after initial contact, silence. The tactical display showed 0 hostile contacts, 60 Iranian UAVs launched, 60 Iranian UAVs destroyed. The strike group sustained minimal material damage, shrapnel scoring on 1 destroyer's superstructure, expenditure of 48 surface-to-air missiles, 2,147 rounds of 20mm ammunition, and 14 AMRAAM missiles. 0 American casualties, 0 aircraft lost, 0 ships damaged beyond cosmetic repair. The Combat Air Patrol Super Hornets continued orbiting at medium altitude, awaiting instructions. Damage control parties aboard the Bulkley secured affected compartments. The Abraham Lincoln maintained course and speed, flight operations resuming within 20 minutes of engagement conclusion. The immediate tactical lessons were undeniable. Iranian doctrine had evolved toward saturation attack methodologies, trading UAV cost for potential penetration of American defenses. The Shahed-136, priced at approximately $20,000 per unit, represented an asymmetric approach, overwhelm billion-dollar defensive systems with mass. 60 drones totaled $1.2 million, a fraction of a single Standard missile's cost. Yet the engagement demonstrated the decisive advantage of layered defense architecture. The strike group's integrated air defense network engaged threats across 4 distinct range bands: beyond visual range interception by carrier aircraft, medium-range engagement by destroyer vertical launch systems, close-range interception by helicopter assets, and point defense by Phalanx systems. Each layer attrited the attack, ensuring no single system faced overwhelming numbers. The engagement fundamentally reshaped regional military calculus. Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders observed their most significant UAV strike fail completely. The psychological impact was strategic. American carrier groups remained untouchable by asymmetric drone tactics. Iran possessed approximately 2,000 Shahed-class UAVs across all variants. The Lincoln Strike Group had demonstrated capability to defeat 60 simultaneous contacts without material damage. Extrapolation suggested that even full inventory commitment would fail against multiple carrier groups operating coordinated defenses. The cost-exchange ratio, seemingly favorable to Iran at surface level, inverted upon analysis. The strike group expended $10 million in ammunition to defeat a $1.2 million attack, but preserved $13 billion in naval assets and maintained operational freedom in contested waters. Regional powers absorbed the engagement's implications. Saudi Arabia and UAE military observers noted American willingness to employ lethal force against mass drone attacks without escalating to strikes against Iranian coastal installations. The restraint was calculated. Destroy the attack, demonstrate defensive capability, but avoid widening conflict. Israel's defense establishment analyzed the engagement for lessons applicable to multi-front drone scenarios. The integration of manned and unmanned assets, layered defensive systems, and autonomous point defense networks offered template solutions for high-intensity saturation environments. Russian and Chinese naval strategists logged the data. American carrier groups maintained effective self-defense even against numerically superior UAV swarms. The engagement triggered immediate doctrinal revisions. United States Central Command elevated threat assessment protocols for Iranian UAV operations, assuming 100-plus drone attacks as baseline scenario for future contingency planning. The Office of Naval Intelligence increased collection priorities on Revolutionary Guard naval aviation facilities, identifying drone storage locations and launch infrastructure. Fifth Fleet Headquarters in Bahrain issued updated rules of engagement, authorizing preemptive strikes against hostile UAV formations detected within 50 nautical miles of American vessels. The Joint Chiefs reviewed ammunition expenditure rates, calculating that the Pacific Fleet required additional Sea Sparrow and AMRAAM stockpiles to sustain high-intensity operations in potential Taiwan Strait scenarios. Iranian responses followed predictable patterns. State media portrayed the engagement as successful harassment operation that forced American defensive expenditures. Revolutionary Guard commanders privately acknowledged the attack's failure, but emphasized the operational learning value. Future tactics would incorporate more sophisticated approaches: mixed altitude profiles, electronic warfare support, coordination with anti-ship cruise missile salvos. The engagement proved Iranian willingness to accept total UAV loss rates in pursuit of strategic goals. The threshold for mass attacks had been established. American forces could anticipate larger, more complex swarms in subsequent confrontations. The strategic ramifications cascaded through regional alliance structures. Gulf Cooperation Council states requested accelerated delivery of American-made air defense systems, citing the engagement as validation of integrated defensive architecture. Patriot battery deployments increased across Saudi Arabia and UAE. The Abraham Lincoln's successful defense justified continued American naval presence in the Persian Gulf, despite Iranian anti-access efforts. Freedom of navigation operations continued uninterrupted. Commercial shipping lanes remained secure. The principle of open international waters, enforced through demonstrated military capability, held firm. The engagement illuminated future warfare contours. Unmanned systems had transitioned from surveillance tools to primary strike weapons. Saturation attacks represented the accessible peer-competitor tactic, available to any military power with industrial drone production capacity. American defensive superiority rested upon technological integration, advanced radar systems, autonomous engagement algorithms, layered defensive doctrine. But numeric advantages could erode technological edges. An adversary willing to commit 500 or 1,000 UAVs simultaneously might achieve penetration through simple mathematics, overwhelming defensive ammunition stockpiles. The engagement was decisive American victory, but it also previewed the calculus of future conflicts, where quantity threatened to overcome quality through sheer attrition. The Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group departed the Persian Gulf 3 days after the engagement, transiting the Strait of Hormuz under combat air patrol coverage. No further Iranian attacks materialized. The 11-minute battle had communicated more than any diplomatic statement could achieve. American naval power remained supreme in regional waters, capable of defeating massed attacks while sustaining zero casualties. The engagement joined a historical lineage of naval actions where technological superiority and tactical discipline overcome numeric disadvantage. The tactical data was unambiguous. 60 threats engaged, 60 threats destroyed, 11 minutes elapsed, 0 American losses. The Persian Gulf remains navigable not through negotiation, but through the demonstrated capability to defeat any threat in any number at any time. The calculus is simple. The execution is flawless. The result is absolute.